Hey guys, so just going to do a voiceover on the warm-up and the skill technique for our back squat session. So this is taken from the JST train programming for our back squat session. It's the first back squat progression that we're going to be running through. The guys have just had the whiteboard brief and they've been sent out on their 400-meter jog. Now we're going to be going into some lunge matrix work. So key things that I'm thinking about when I'm getting the guys into the room is to make sure obviously everyone's got a bit of space, but then making sure everyone's present. As most people they like to hang at the back. So I'm calling some people forward, trying to crack a little bit of a joke to kind of get people into position. So now once the room's set up, I'm just describing here, as you can see, making sure you've got enough room to swing a cat in, i.e. to lunge forwards, backwards, and then to the side. I'll always demonstrate first. So with our lunge matrix, we're looking at 3 steps going forward. I'm also noting that I want that back knee to get close, but not touching the floor. Okay, once we've done those 3, I'm then into a side lunge. I'm trying to get some of the members to focus on keeping that leg nice and straight to get an adductor stretch and then also range on that bent leg. Now, with the back corner lunge, a lot of the members tend to keep the leg that's not moving bent, but my focus for them is to get a bit of a stretch. I think you may see Nathan, who's right at the front here. He struggles with kind of groin and hip mobility, so I'm trying to get him to get his leg as straight as possible. Once I've done that, we've got one more lunge that I'm just running through with the guys, which is that reverse lunge. And if you notice that I'm doing it step by step, I show them, make them do it, show them, make them do it, rather than showing all of it and then the members forgetting the first one that I've actually spoken about. So once I've done one side of the body, I'm then just getting everyone to roll through at their own pace on the other side of the body. And this is where I can start to move around the room a little bit. So initially I am at the front and I'm totally aware that not everyone's nailing every lunge, but from the group mentality and perspective, this is more beneficial. Getting everyone moving at the same time, i.e. not necessarily optimally in terms of mechanics, but now my opportunity to go around and then start to fix people specifically. At this point, if I put the other audio on, I'd be answering our question of the day. So we have an icebreaker question. Today's question was, what's your favorite or most used emoji? So if you notice, I go person to person. When I ask for their answer, I'll always say their name. So it'd be like, okay, Nathan, what's your answer to the question of the day? And within the warm-up period, my focus is to make sure that I try to use everybody's name at least 3 times. So normally at the whiteboard once, and then once or twice within the warm-up. The question of the day is a great way to do that because it allows me to have direct conversation with the person, builds a bit of rapport. I can then tend to have a few people in the room that I tend to have a bit of a joke and I laugh with. So once they'd gone through the other side on their own, I get them to go back to that first leg. And again, you always have some members that like to do lots of warming up, some members that don't like to do as much. It's guided. At the end of the day, we are all adults. We understand the benefit in it. So once we've done that, as you can see, I'm coming back to the center of the room, trying to bring people's attention back to the middle because our next part of the warm-up is going to be our 27 squat matrix. So with this is really, really good at opening up the hips, getting the ankles moving, and then also allows me as a coach to identify who struggles to squat to depth, who leans forward, who's got turn in feet, who's got turn out feet. It's a great way to assess people's squat mechanics. So how I deliver this to the group, again, very similar to the lunge. I will kind of half lead, half keep my eyes on the group. I'll get them to do their 3 reps. I'll tend to stay with them for the first 3 and then I'll talk them through it. To give you an idea, as a gym, we do this a huge amount. So I don't think anyone in the room will have not done this before. So from my perspective, it's quite an easy job to get people going. And then the hard job is, as you can see, I'm just moving around, dictating the foot positions. So we have a narrow, regular and wide stance. We have a toes dead ahead, we have a toes turn in, and then we have a toes turn out. One of the things I do dictate in the group is that not every squat will feel the same. Some people and some of the variations you'll be able to squat lower than others. That's really important to set the tone when you say that, because otherwise if you've got someone who's not able to squat all the way down on quite a few of their reps, they're going to be quite disheartened, and then also they're going to be feeling like they have to push the range. This is just a nice hip opener. Some of them will be better than others. Nathan, who's at the front, who does have quite tight hips with his wide stance, he's pretty good in his position. But as you can see, we're just trying to get people moving and squatting. We're on to our final sets of 3 reps at each position. I think at this point I make a little bit of a joke with Sam. He turns around because the guy in the red t-shirt mentions that his favourite emoji is a peach, and Sam's got quite big glutes. So we've finished our kind of warm-up or our prep movement. A few people are kind of still trying to limber up. Now here comes the tough bit as a coach, is getting people into their groups, into the squat rack, and then making sure they're at a similar height. Now the workout today, or the strength piece, is going every 3 minutes, 5 back squats, and you've got 5 sets. It's our first progression, so we were aiming for a 10 rep max the week previous to this, and now we're looking at hitting 5 sets of 5 at that weight of the 10 rep max, or 60 to 70% of our 1 rep max back squat. So things I was talking to the guys at the whiteboard about were that this squat session is not hugely difficult. It's our kind of bridge between doing a test and then our first progression. So overall, everyone should come away feeling pretty strong and feeling like they're in control of their squats. I did give people the option, I think I'll tell you in a second once people have got their barbells in, that they can go for the 10 rep max if they feel they want to. We're not too far away from that week of the testing to be able to do that. If you notice, as I'm moving around the room, I'm just ticking the boxes. So the guys closest to the camera in here, Nathan and Simon, are pretty strong. They know where they are in terms of their strength numbers. I can leave them alone. Whereas I'm over underneath the clock, where there's 2 ladies. One lady who hasn't been in for a while, and one lady that this is her 3rd or 4th session. So I'm making it a priority to get to her to make sure, or them, so that their squat position is set. Now I've called everybody over. This is probably the most crucial time on a back squat. This is where you set the tone for the session. If you don't do this, this is where mistakes happen. People go too heavy, people go too light, people have poor mechanics. So what I'm outlining is I'm rebriefing the sets and reps so everybody knows exactly what numbers they're going to be doing, because there's nothing worse than a 10-second countdown and your members are going, what are we doing again? So just to remind them after they've just got their barbells, and then I'm going to go into the execution of the lift. What I mean by that is I'm going to demonstrate it. So I'm going to show everyone what they need to do. Then I'm going to get people to go through and then practice with the empty barbell. Now, you won't be able to hear this, but when I'm going through the back squat, I'll talk about setup. So I'll get my hands in the right place. I'll talk about getting underneath the bar. And then when I come out, I'll fill my chest full of air and I will mimic it being really heavy. You'll also notice when I'm demonstrating, when I'm moving, I'm not talking. Some learners really struggle when you're talking and moving at the same time. Give them one or the other. So what I tend to do is when I'm demonstrating a movement, I'm doing it in silence. Again, taken from the level 1 and the level 2. Give people only one stimulus to learn from. And then you can obviously adjust it according to who's in front of you. With the squats, things that I'm always trying to get people to do is to remain balanced in the foot, not too far in the heels, not too far in the toes, keeping a nice upright posture. Once I've done that demonstration, I'm then like, right guys, I want us to hit a set of 10 with the empty bar, focusing on getting it out. Now, I've already mentioned we've got quite an experienced group. Most of them did their 10 rep max last week, but I still always repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And you probably feel like as a coach, the members will feel, oh, he's already told me this, he told me this a million times. But from my years of experience of doing it, the one time you don't tell the group to make sure they brace in the middle, you get someone who doesn't, and then they end up tweaking themselves or hurting themselves. So this is a good opportunity. This is not when coaching finishes. You're then just starting to move around the room, starting to get some people set, having conversations with them. I think I'm just making a bit of a joke. One of the guys called Vic, who's got all the gear but he's not wearing his lifters. So I asked him why they were just sat on the floor. And then I'm just coming around checking people's positions. I think with Nathan here, he's got quite a significant hip shift. You can't see from the camera here, but everything's going onto one side of his body. So now, if you notice, I'm just trying to square him up, and then I'm just trying to put him into the position that's keeping him square. And what he reported back was that it was quite a big change. What did happen towards the end was that it got heavier and he started to shift over again. So I wanted to just remind him that he needs to kind of be nice and balanced. And I think he's talking to one of the guys about it, where he's probably feeling like he's going to fall over. With Mike, so this guy on the squat now, he's loses his midline when he squats. So to give you a bit of a backstory on it, what that tends to happen is then once he gets below parallel, he starts to tip forward and everything there. So you can see the coaches have drilled into him chest up, but sometimes that chest up cue is not enough. So we're focusing for him, even there you saw on that rep right there, he just loses his thoracic. So for him, he's got a tension on trying to squeeze his upper back when he squats, as opposed to just picking your chest up. So sometimes it will get the same response, but not always the same cue. All right, so the guys are starting to load up now. I think I was talking to them about just naturally building up, and that is how I deliver a back squat session. Hope you enjoyed it.